My name is Kathryn.kiser, and I'm the Cultural Affairs Officer here in Lahore. I work for the U.S Consulate General. My job, I do a lot of different things. I get to do work on education, and I get to work on exchange between America and other countries, specifically Pakistan. But I think one of my favorite things I do is I get to work with civil society, and I get to work, therefore, with human rights issues. A human rights issue that is really important to me is disability rights. And the reason it's important is because it cuts across all boundaries. So it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are or what country you're from. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Someone within your group has disabilities. It's a universal condition. So to me, disability rights as a part of human rights is a really important thing because it affects all of us very directly. And we found in other countries, particularly in America, that when the disabled have more rights and more access, actually all of us have more rights and more access. So I'll give you the example in America. Now by law, everyone has to make their public buildings accessible to wheelchairs. That means they have to have ramps, they have to have special doors. If there is any sort of public transport, that has to be accessible too, with elevators and with proper buttons so people can reach and open doors automatically. And people complained about it when it first started a long time ago. But what we've discovered now is that if you're pushing a heavy cart, even if you're not disabled, because in that situation it's hard for you, having the accessibility makes it easier. If you're pregnant, if you're with small children, having the ramp, having the automatic doors, it makes a big difference for everyone. So I think just like in America, how disability rights has raised everyone's rights, we're hoping that in Pakistan, increasing disability rights, increasing accessibility here will increase rights for everyone. And that's part of why I like also working with Milestone. One, the people who work at Milestone are very nice, and they're really friendly, and they've been really fun to work with. But they understand the concept of human rights. They understand that what they're working for is much bigger than just for themselves. It's really for everyone. It's for the entire society. And that's part of why through this grant, which we've awarded them to create this production house, they're able to share that opinion that disability rights are rights for everyone, now much more broadly than they could before. It's enabled them to expand their work and to really amplify their voice. And so we're hoping that through this grant, they can show disabled people, not just here in Lahore, but throughout Pakistan, even throughout the world, different training techniques, so how they can live more independent lives, different techniques for society, how society can move towards becoming accessible, how society can become more inclusive, more tolerant, which are lessons that are applicable not just in the field of disabilities, but really every field. So that's my dream for Milestone, and that's my dream for Pakistan, and that's why I'm here from America to work with these groups. The biggest barriers, I think, to the disabled in Pakistan is mostly just lack of exposure. It was the same way in America. Before we had the Americans with Disabilities Act, which created accessibility, which brought the disabled community into the mainstream community, people didn't have a chance to interact with disabled people. So, the main part of society had kind of pushed disabled people aside, and they didn't come together very often. But now that we have accessibility in my country, we're able to interact with disabled people very often. And it creates this idea that disabled people are normal people. That's what we've mainly learned from our American experience. So I think here in Pakistan, the fact that disabled people and the mainstream of society don't have many chances to interact, there's not a lot of accessibility where they two can come together. I think that's what's mainly preventing the disabled culture here from moving forward and becoming more part of the mainstream. But I think that will change. The more accessibility there is, the more chances they have to interact, the more that the mainstream of society sees things like the Milestone videos that show disabled people just leading normal lives, just being normal people, not angels, not monsters, but just normal. I think that a lot of those barriers will come down and that people will be able to interact more with each other. It wasn't natural, so to speak, in the United States. It didn't just happen by itself. Disabled people in the U.S. fought really hard for their rights. There are videos of it, of the disabled movement in the States, which started taking place in the 70s. it was a huge protest movement. It wasn't peaceful even. The disabled people took over buildings. They chained themselves to buses. It wasn't violent, but it was very vocal and very active. And for the first time, disabled people said, you have to let us into your society. You can't keep us on the fringes. So it was a really long, hard battle for disabled people in the U.S., which is now all of us are very blessed in not just disabled community, but the mainstream as well, to have more tolerance and more coming together of the two groups. So in Pakistan, I'm hoping that you'll have something of the same. Just a stronger voice from the disabled community demanding to have your rights, because that's what it took in America. I like Pakistani food very much. Before I came here, everyone told me Pakistan has very spicy food, so I was ready for very spicy food. And the first couple of dishes I ate, they were not spicy, and I thought, everyone lied to me. But it turns out because I'm Gora, they were trying to keep the spice away. So now I encourage my Pakistani friends, no, make me real food. And I like it very much. The spicy food reminds me a lot of Mexican food that we have in America, so it's quite delicious. So my hope in Pakistan is, I've only been here for 1 year, and I after this have another job, so I can't stay longer. What I want is to come back to Pakistan in maybe 5 years, 6 years, and see the changes that have happened in Pakistani society. So I want to see how the work that Milestone is doing and the work that other civil society groups are doing has made their society different, made their society better. And I'm very excited at the thought of coming back to Pakistan and seeing how Pakistan's become a better place.